Hey, beloved, we're continuing with Joseph again. This time we're going to talk about the reunion. We usually hear this part of the story as the righteous ending, right? The vindication, the restoration, the moment where everything finally makes sense. Joseph rises to power, his brothers come to him in need, the dream comes full circle. And in the story, that part, it comes to pass. But today I want to talk about what it cost Joseph emotionally to stand in that moment, because reunion doesn't automatically erase betrayal, does it? Joseph didn't just reconnect with his family, he came face to face with the people who harmed him, the ones who sold him, the ones who watched him cry out and chose malice and gained profit instead, the ones who went home and let their father believe he was dead. And yet, by the time they meet again, Joseph isn't a boy in a pit. He's a grown man who has survived years of separation, loss, injustice, and silence. We like to say God had to separate Joseph from his family so his purpose could be fulfilled. That's what we've heard. And we read that and we could see that's true, right? But separation, even when it's necessary, still hurts. And even when it's divinely orchestrated, it's it isn't simple. Joseph's brother, his brothers eventually take accountability. They acknowledge their wrongdoing. They admit their guilt. And that part matters. But sometimes we skip over that, or not everyone gets that. Some of us step back into family or relational spaces hoping time and distance, would have softened things, hoping the separation brought about healing, hoping there will be recognition, responsibility, repentance, and sometimes there isn't. Sometimes the reunion happens without accountability. Sometimes people want closeness without reflection, reconnection without repair, access without taking responsibility. Joseph's story reminds us that reconciliation isn't the same as pretending nothing happened. Even after Joseph reveals himself, he doesn't rush intimacy. He tests the situation. He observed. He discerns, and that's not bitterness, that's wisdom. Joseph forgives, but he doesn't erase the past. He names what happened and what God did with it. He told his brothers, "You meant it for harm, but God meant it for good." He doesn't deny the harm, he doesn't spiritualize it away. Joseph didn't pretend, you know, he wasn't wounded. He holds both truths at the same time. And I think that's important for us because sometimes faith in the people or spaces isn't about rushing to restoration. It's about being honest about what reunion can and cannot heal. Some relationships come back transformed, some don't. Some reunions bring closure, some just bring clarity. And clarity is still a gift. But I also want to ask you, if the reunion or apology never happens, will you still be able to move forward? Will you give new people, new spaces a chance where previous spaces couldn't? Because regardless if the reunion happens or not, will you still invite clarity, forgiveness? Will you still do the inner work for your good, for your becoming? That's what, and that's why Be With Beloved exists, for that middle, to be with you, be with the one who calls you beloved, and be with community, be with yourself, the middle between separation and reunion, the middle between forgiveness and trust, the middle between loving people and protecting your peace. You're not required to rush to an ending. You're not required to pretend something healed just because time passed. And you're not less faithful for naming what still hurts. If you want to share your middle simply as it is, you're invited, because your story, even the unresolved parts, might help someone else breathe a little easier. And they may realize they're not alone. Welcome to Be With Beloved. Until next time, stay beloved.